out by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of 3 Guys, 1 Mic. I'm Little Man, joined by the phenomenal man himself,
William.
And we're here to give you our predictions for Week 5. And as the time we're recording this, the Thursday night game has already passed. Rams versus Seahawks. Before we get into all these other games that we want to finish off with, I'm going to go ahead and let Willie start off with the Seahawks-Rams game.
Okay. As Loman just said, that the game just ended about an hour and a half ago. I thought it was going to be a better game than we got, but that's just, that's just the fan in me wanting a better game. But looking at this game, the main thing that I look at when I was watching the game is how Matthew Stafford looked. And if you look at Week 4 against the Arizona Cardinals, he was missing a few throws, something that you didn't really see the first 3 weeks of them, of him and his receivers connecting. And even in this game, he had 365 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and he still missed a horrible interception, which he was trying to throw it away, but you had so much room to throw it away. There's no reason why you should have thrown it away in play. But even with all these mistakes and all these missed throws and him injuring his fingers, 365 yards. So he could have maybe even had 500 yards this game. He could have put it out of reach way sooner, maybe at the end of the third quarter. And yeah, I just still think that there's a lot to improve on if you're the Rams. This offense, like I said, I thought they were going to struggle in weeks 1 through 4. Seems like they were fine, and then now they're starting to kind of hit that wall and kind of struggle a little bit. And this is expected. It's fine. I'm not really panicking on the Rams or Matthew Stafford in this offense. But and if you're the Seahawks, you have to hold your breath and really cross your fingers that Russell Wilson's injury to his middle finger isn't really anything serious. Because as you notice, he wasn't in the game at all. Russell Wilson is a player that you would expect him to play through anything. As long as he can play through it, he will. And it's kind of mind-boggling that he wasn't in the game. I do understand that you want to save your quarterback and you want to help him, but an interesting stat is they saw that Geno Smith and Russell Wilson had similar stats, and this isn't a knock on Russell Wilson. It has nothing to do with him, but just how well-prepared Geno Smith looked. Even though he's a backup quarterback, he is a veteran, has been in this league for a long time, but compared to Russell Wilson, he had 131 passing yards, Russell Wilson 152. They both had a touchdown and an interception. So I do think that it's just, I'm really happy, and I'm not worried if Russell Wilson has to miss the next game or anything. I am worried though long term. But yeah, I just think that this was a good win for the Rams. I think going on a short week in a hostile environment like Seattle, one of the loudest crowds in the NFL, again on a short week you're traveling, your offense is still kind of new together. I think it was a really good win.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I thought the Rams wide receivers dominated. Cooper Kupp with 7 receptions, 90 yards. Robert Woods, 12 catches, 150. And a lot of people were worried about him, that some of his looks were going to be taken away by Van Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson. Who, those two are actually really good players for the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, when you focus in on Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, you still got Van Jefferson, who's a phenomenal route runner. You still have Deshaun Jackson, who has that speed. And when you got that long ball, 3 to 5 years ago, that's a touchdown.
I was thinking
but now you can see that his reels have run out. And one thing I'm surprised about with the Seahawks is how many times they made Geno Smith throw. With how successful their run game was in the first half with Alex Collins, even with Travis Homer at some times, but he's more of a pass-catching back. It sucks to see Russell Wilson go down, obviously. But with the Rams, I'm very nervous for their rush defense. And going forward, I think... And they also lost Darius Williams. I don't know if you saw him getting injured at the end. So a lot of questions going forward, but I'm willing to bet on their offense against anybody else any day.
Okay. Going on with our next game, getting into the first games and our predictions, we're going to go with probably the biggest game of the week. It is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, little man, what do you think about this game?
The AFC title rematch. I love to see rematches from previous years in the playoffs to next year's regular season. But I feel like this Bills team is way different than last year. Yeah. But I think both teams are, respectively. Chiefs defense hasn't looked nearly as tough as they did last year when they played the Bills. I mean, it's just awful. They let the Eagles put up 30 points, and I thought the Eagles could have won that game. But then again, that's not. It all comes down to play calling to them. I thought that was very winnable for Philly because of how bad the Chiefs defense is, and this Bills run offense, has been a big question these past few years. And I think this year they've got it going. And we all like to bring up that stat, how you would bring up that they outscored their opponents, but I think it was 118-21.
Yeah.
And I think those 21 points came
in
one game. Yeah. So to see this, I have the Bills winning. I think the Chiefs defense has struggled way too much this year. to put up a fight against this Bills offense, and Josh Allen he's starting to click after week 1, so I got the Bills.
Yeah, I think looking at this game, you just kind of look at week 1 and you think, what the hell happened? It seems like a year ago when it was really just a few weeks ago, seeing how different teams look and everything. And I'm going to have to agree with Little Man. I am going to take the Bills in this game, and I think whoever wins this game, it's not going to mean much. I still think these are the two top dogs. I still think that there's still a lot of season left. I'm just going with the Bills. They're the harder team. They're the better team. Only thing is that you pray that Mahomes and that offense doesn't get any steam rolling. Because, again, just like in the game last week where Philadelphia kept on scoring and there was a lot of opportunities where touchdowns came off the board for them, Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill were still taking over that game. So, again, the biggest thing is you take away Tyreek Hill. I think, and again, Philadelphia's defense, I don't think they're anywhere near the top. And I think that all the top defenses are going to look to hone in on Tyreek Hill and they're going to take him away. I think that's the recipe, as we've been seeing for the past few weeks and in all their losses. But yeah, I'm still going to go with the Bills. Josh Allen's playing phenomenal. Again, how Lil was saying, the running game is finally going. I just think that momentum, you look at the two different teams, one team is making mistakes. Again, Patrick Mahomes had another interception last week, and this offensive line, they're still getting into their groove, you know what I mean? So I still think that there's still a lot of football to be played, but I'm going to go with the Bills right now. I just think they're the harder team, and I think they're going to go into the hostile environment. Stephon Diggs hasn't forgot about what happened last year, that iconic photo of him standing on the field after the game. So I think it's going to be a really good game, but I'm still going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Now, game you already know I'll be tuning in for. Very interesting game here, the Cowboys versus the Giants. As we all know, this is a team that it still pisses me off to this day. I'm not even going to lie. This is a team that broke his ankle off a tackle, which, I mean, they're still tackling like this. Keep in mind. The New York Giants are still tackling like that.
Okay, but I think it's an NFL thing.
Sliding under people's legs. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it just pisses me off because that's why.
Yeah,
that's how that happened.
But
you know what I mean?
Like, okay, kind of like a sidetrack. But when that injury happened, my dad and I were having a conversation about it, and I was saying that Dak's a big guy. That's how you. I mean, and when you're playing, when you're in between those lines and in between a play, you're gonna do anything in your power to bring down a guy like Dak. So they weren't really trying to, you don't think in the middle of a play, oh, am I gonna hurt this guy? You don't really think about it like that. Again, I'm not in the NFL, but I'm just saying. People really don't think about it like that, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, getting into the game, totally different teams from last year. A lot of stars on New York side of the ball, a lot of stars on Dallas. But I think I'll take Dak over Danny Dimes any day, if I'm being honest. I think if we pressure him like we did last week with Sam Darnold, I think he'll fold. And I think the key for this, because we all know he likes to run. I mean, Danny Dimes can get out of the pocket probably better than anybody in the league. But I want to see Michael Parsons shadow him the whole game. I want to see him QB spy the whole game, and I'm taking the Cowboys.
Okay. Now, I want to hear your take on Cowboys in big picture. How do you see the Cowboys when it comes to competing for the NFC? After another week, another dominant performance.
For the NFC, I still think they have a lot of work to do on defense to put them anywhere near the contenders, like with the Rams, Packers, and Buccaneers. Because I don't know if I saw a stat today that they've given up 19, 20-yard plus plays, and that's second in the league. And I think, but the good thing is that they're taking accountability. Trayvon Diggs knows that. Dan Quinn knows that. Hopefully it gets fixed, as we all know. They released Jalen Smith, so I expected a lot of Keanu Neal, Leighton Vander Esch, and Michael Parsons. But I'm not too worried.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree with you. That's something that I do see with the Cowboys. A lot of big plays, a lot of explosive plays. Speaking of explosive plays, last week Saquon finally had a really breakout game after his ACL injury. And again, I always say this, and a lot of people like to harp on Saquon because his yards are down and things like that. But I think that's just not solely, but it's mostly on his offensive line. And when you see him making big plays in the passing game with a big play like that, not only did he catch a long pass, we also ran and broke a few tackles on the way. And again, that's also something that's really huge for his mind. Because again, you tear your ACL, that's something that's hard to come back from mentally and physically. And you have a game like that against I don't know if the Saints are a good team, but against a decent team, you know what I mean? And I do think that your game plan is you're gonna have to have Daniel Jones play another game like he did last week. But I think Saquon has to be the X factor. I think he has to make explosive plays against a defense that allows a lot of explosive plays. But I'm still going with the Cowboys. The offense is probably the most well-rounded offense in the NFL. If you look at their defense, they're getting turnovers. Diggs is playing phenomenal. I'm not gonna say what Dak said and say he's the best cornerback in the NFL, but he's playing at a really high level, and I think that teams are going to start to just look away from him and stop throwing his way. But yeah, right now I'm gonna go with the Cowboys.
Okay, so another interesting game we have this week, both 3-1. The Green Bay Packers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, I've been high on the Bengals, not so much Willie, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and give your thoughts on this game.
Well, again, I'm gonna eat my own words, and I will say that I'm wrong, and I was wrong about the Bengals. I did think they were gonna be a fun team, but I didn't think they were gonna win games this early and like this well prepared. And again, how we went back to our Steelers picks. I don't know about the Steelers, but I do think this is going to be a very interesting game, especially when you consider that the Packers' defense allows a lot of big plays. I'm not really sold on their defense. I think Joe Burrow can have another really good game in this passing game. I think that an interesting matchup is Jamar Chase versus Jaire Alexander. Jaire Alexander is probably a top 3 cornerback in the NFL. Jamar Chase is looking like the best rookie right now, besides Micah Parsons. But I do think that this team just isn't as well coached as the Packers, and I think that Aaron Rodgers in this offense is going to eat. I think they're going to have a really good game. I think it's going to be kind of like a shootout game, like 31-35. I just think it comes down to whoever has the ball last, and I trust Aaron Rodgers. I trust Matt LaFleur, and again, I think that another display of just your team looking physical. For the Packers, we know you can put up points. We know Aaron Rodgers can make the big plays. We know Devontae Adams can do all these things on the field, but it comes to your offensive line and defensive line taking over games, especially with what's his name, Smith, for the Packers being out. He's going on IR. He's going to be out. Yeah, Zadarius Smith is going to be on IR for a while. So I think that this is a really big opportunity, a really big game for your team to step up, look physical, and be dominant. I'm going with the Packers.
You said this could be a shootout, right?
Yeah.
That's what you said? I'm not really sure if T. Higgins is going to play. I've heard that he's been injured. He's missed a few games, yeah. But if either way, if he does or if he doesn't, Jaire Alexander will be guarding Jamar Chase probably the whole game, right? Mm-hmm. You still have to worry about Tyler Boyd, who is a very valuable, in my eyes, still a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
If T. Higgins plays, you still have to worry about him and his size and his route running. It's going to be scary. But the big thing the reason why I picked the Packers, 'cause I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of hard for me. Mm-hmm. But Joe Mixon is out. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna play. He's had, I think, 3 days in a row where he hasn't practiced. Mm-hmm. And the Packers also have Aaron Rodgers, who's probably one of the most talented quarterbacks, if not the most talented quarterback of all time. Mm-hmm. So I have the Packers in this one. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I think Joe Mixon, if he does play, that's gonna add another element to it. We still have yet to see. But again, it just goes hand in hand with that Packers being physical. Joe Mixon is a very physical running back. That offense looks way different when he's in. But yeah, if he's out, it's going to be a huge blow. What's the next game, Little Man?
The next game I have is the Browns versus the Chargers.
Okay.
Now, last week, on Monday Night Football, we called it. I mean, you don't talk, you were there. You don't talk about Justin Herbert and his Chargers like that and expect to come in and punch them in the mouth first. It just doesn't happen. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. But this week, they're playing against a very physical Cleveland Browns team. Mm-hmm. And I will give the Browns that. 2 teams that everyone was high on coming into the season. But what the Browns don't have, they do have a pass rush. But they do not have a run defense. Mm-hmm. And we saw what Austin Eckler did against the good Raiders defense that everyone was calling them last week on Monday. I kind of expect the same thing to happen. Austin Eckler is, in my eyes, watching that, he was probably one of the most complete backs in the league. If I'm being honest.
Thinking the same thing.
He reminds me a lot of Saquon. Mm-hmm. And he's that nickname they gave him, Power for Power, or what is it? Something like that. I mean, we saw a display on Monday night. I mean, I think Herbert can move the ball pretty easily on this Browns offense, or Browns defense. And Keenan Allen versus Denzel Ward. That's going to be a matchup I look to very much. And I think Mike Williams should have another big game.
Again, yeah.
If I'm being honest. So I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Little Man when it came to his what he said about both teams coming into the season. I think that a lot of teams, I think a lot of teams were high on the Browns, but the Chargers was either half and half. Either you weren't sold on them or you were sold on them.
That was more of like, I'll be honest, that was more of like us being high.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Like we were sold on the Chargers. Again, I was there at that game last Monday, and Austin Eckler and the offensive line looked dominant.
My God.
And like, when you're there in person, you see holes open up. You see how offensive linemen move the defensive line and move the linebackers and stuff like that. In person, you can't really see it on TV, but I was like, these holes are massive. They're amazing. That's why you put your draft capital in Rashawn Slater. That's why you pay all these players like Corey Linsley, stuff like that. So I think that was a really good win for them. That just shows that you can be physical and put the game away when a team is coming back with momentum. And with the Browns, you look at the 2 quarterbacks. I do think that both defenses are kind of similar. I think that they're both physical. They can get to the quarterback. But you look at the quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield has not been playing as everyone expected him to be, especially looking at the first 2 weeks. Again, first week looked really good, but now looking at it against the defense he was playing, I'm not really that convinced about his performance. Then you look at the other games, they're kind of just going down, down, down.
Last week was a shock, I have to admit.
Last week, yeah, and it wasn't even the whole game. Because I understand quarterbacks and offenses go through rough patches where the whole game you're kind of in a drought. But to ice the game, you miss Odell wide open for 6. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense how the stats declined with Odell in the offense. I just don't understand, and I'm not too sure that this Browns running game can carry them to a win against the Chargers, who have a higher-powered offense. I do think it's going to be a lower-scoring game, but I think that the Chargers have the better quarterback, and I think that they're going to pull it out in the end. And yeah, I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you brought up OBJ. I mean, the fact that he's being overshadowed in this offense right now is actually ridiculous. And I'm pretty sure I can speak for half of NFL fans, is that you have to give him the ball more.
Yeah.
You just have to, if you want to win games. Mm-hmm. So moving on, we have the 49ers and the Cardinals, another division matchup.
Yeah.
Where I expect to see Trey Lance as a starter.
He is going to start.
What do you expect in this game? Oh, he's starting.
Yeah, he's starting. Looking at it for the Niners, our editor, Patrick, he's a really big 49er fan, and we had a small conversation. And I was just telling him that I think even though Jimmy G's been hurt, he's hurt right now, I still think that Jimmy G's a better option to win now. He's a safer option, but now there's no better chance, no better opportunity for Trey Lance to come in and shock everyone. You never know what's going to happen. Again, I'm just saying Jimmy G was a safer pick, but now you have no choice. Let's see what Trey Lance is made out of. I think he has the body for it. He's physical. He can run. Now we're just trying to see what his arm's made out of. Again, he's playing a really hot Arizona team. I don't expect the 49ers to win this game, but I do want to see how Trey Lance looks, and I do want to see how the 49ers plan to slow down Kyler Murray in this offense. You look at last week, I didn't expect the Cardinals to look that good. I understand it's a division game. I think both teams are really good against the Rams, but I just didn't expect them to look that dominant and Chase Edmonds looking that good. He looked huge, yoked up. I don't know. Was he always that big?
Chase Edmonds?
Yeah.
No, there's no way.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know whose workout plan he took this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, he looks massive, but I'm still going to go with the Cardinals. I think they're the hot team right now. Kyler Murray's playing at an MVP level. And again, DeAndre Hopkins still hasn't really had like a crazy game besides that Week 1 game. And I think that's really good when you consider that DeAndre Hopkins is maybe the best receiver in the NFL, and he's having kind of a slow start to the season.
And they're still 4-0.
Yeah, they're still 4-0. So yeah, I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals, but I do think that I want to see what the Niners are made out of. I want to see what Trey Lance, what they draw up with, that running game. Because again, Kyle Shanahan has an amazing scheme when it comes to running game. So I just want to see how they play out. But
yeah, going based off what you said, I thought this is another. I agree with you. I think this is another great opportunity to see what Trey Lance has in him. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting a lot of RPOs and read options this game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think this run defense can work really well. Or this run offense can work really well against this Cardinals defense. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm being honest, the Rams last week, that's what they ran away from against the Cardinals as well. The run game.
Yeah.
And I think they're very vulnerable against the run. I mean, J.J. Watt, I know he's there. I know Chandler Jones is there. But they're more pass rushers, if I'm being honest. So I think that can work really well. But it's the Cardinals. They have Kyler Murray. I don't see anybody on that defense in the playing DB. I don't think they can stop that wide receiver. There's 4 of them. There's 4 good wide receivers. They have Hopkins, A.J. Green, Rondale Moore, and Christian Kirk. And I don't think the Niners have the players to stop that offense. So I think the Cardinals go on to 5-0.
And another thing that you have to consider is that if you're Arizona, you're playing against a young quarterback, and Chandler Jones has not had a sack. Or I think he hasn't had a sack.
He has half a sack.
He had half a sack since Week 1. So I think that's your time to eat. I think you need to get back on that train because I don't know what happened going from a bunch of sacks in Week 1 to now having half a sack for the rest of the weeks. But what's the next game?
Next game is the Monday Night Football game. Colts and Ravens. What are your thoughts going into this game?
I think it's going to be an interesting game, and I don't think it's as lopsided as people are seeing it to be.
A lot of people have the Ravens winning big time, huh?
Yeah, a lot of people have the Ravens winning by a lot, and I don't blame them, but I still think that the Colts are still a really good team, and they're just finding things out. Again, this division, the AFC South, isn't that good. No one really thought they were going to be good going into the year. But you look at it, Carson Wentz dealing with 2 ankle injuries and still making pretty good plays against a Dolphins defense that is still really good. I understand their offense, you don't have a quarterback right now, but he's still in a place to win that game. You finally got Jonathan Taylor going, which is the biggest part and the biggest thing, especially with the offensive line that's hurt. Eric Fisher came back finally. So I think that your team is just hitting its stride. I think it's going to be a rough patch early on in the season. And you're playing against a really good Ravens team. And I just want to see how the Colts look. I want to see how Carson Wentz looks. And again, he's been efficient this season. He hasn't thrown for 5 touchdowns, but he also hasn't thrown for 4 interceptions like he's been doing last year.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a silver lining here. I think that if Carson Wentz could just play his ball, you run the football. I think both teams are just going to try to run down each other's throats. You run the football, keep the ball away from Lamar. And I think that this could work out in your favor. But I'm still going to go with the Ravens. You have Lamar Jackson, who came off a big game last week, passing-wise. Hollywood Brown redeemed himself, having another long touchdown pass. Yeah, he does, and that's why I'm happy to see it. Again, I don't know, has Rashad Bateman came back yet? I don't know when he's coming back, but to see Lamar passing like that, Mark Andrews is still there. I got to go with the Ravens. I think they are a much better team than everyone expected them to be. Again, everyone kind of hopped off that bandwagon after week 1 and all the injuries. But this team is still there. They're still maybe one of the best coached teams in the NFL. So I'm going to go with the Ravens, but I want to see what Carson Wentz and the Colts could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both teams are coming off big wins. Specifically the Colts because it was their first one of the season. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be honest. I think the Colts running game showed a lot of promise last week and the week before. Mm-hmm. But they are facing a very physical and a front that doesn't give up very much rushing yards. Mm-hmm. And I think Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown and this wide receiving core, who I think they're implementing really good now, which I've been waiting for a long time. I think that they can run all over this Bills secondary, or the Colts secondary, excuse me. Because I still think that that's the weakest link that they have, is their secondary. Yeah. So I have the Ravens winning on Monday Night Football.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not mad at that. What's your next game, little man?
Next game is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
Versus the Carolina Panthers.
Yep. Now listen, I get it. No, Eagles are bad, whatever. Carolina Panthers look really good until they face the Cowboys. But when you look at this game, I still think it's a really good matchup. I think this is a winnable game for the Eagles, especially the way Jalen Hurts looked last week. And here's my thing with Jalen Hurts. With Jalen Hurts, I think he has the ability to put up a bunch of yards, score a bunch of touchdowns. I think he can do everything. But I'm concerned about his deep ball. I'm concerned about how he looks making passes with just a lot of arm strength. That's what I'm worried about when it comes to Jalen Hurts. And this defense against the Carolina Panthers defense just signed Stephon Gilmore, or traded for Stephon Gilmore. Got C.J. Henderson. So I do think that this is going to be a tough matchup for Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor.
Stephon Gilmore doesn't play till after week 6.
He's not going to play?
No.
Oh, yeah, he can't play him.
He can't.
Okay. Thank God. So I do think that, again, Devontae Smith had 122 yards last week against a Kansas City defense that wasn't really that good. But it's still impressive to see him have a big game like that. And I think that's something you could build off of. But the biggest thing for this Eagles team is to just run the ball. Miles Sanders still needs the carries. You have Jalen Hurts, who's a running quarterback. You need to give him design runs. This defensive line still looks really good. They got after Patrick Mahomes last week. I just think that there's too many missed opportunities, and I think this is one of the games in the near future that you just can't afford to lose, because you play the Buccaneers, you play the Raiders. So I think that this is just another game where it's winnable, and I do think that you have to seize this opportunity. Nick Sirianni said that he had a big meeting with his team about all the penalties, because they're the most penalized team in the NFL, and they said that he used a lot more profanity, raised his voice a lot more. Hopefully that gets through to the team. Hopefully they get their heads out of what. And I hope that this team could pull it out and be well coached and be prepared. But I'm still going to go with the Carolina Panthers. I think they're just the hotter team. I think Sam Darnold looks like the better quarterback right now. We don't know the status of Christian McCaffrey, but I still think that this running game could still mess up the Eagles with the linebacker situation. So yeah, I'm going with the Panthers.
Yeah, I agree on your take. But I do think for Philly, this is a game where you have to utilize both your running backs. I mean, what's his Gainwell? I don't know his first name. Kenny Gainwell. He's really good. I watched him against the Chiefs. He's very explosive. He reads the holes very well. But I think this is a game where you have to utilize him and Miles Sanders both at the same time. 10 plus rushes each. Get the pressure off Jalen Hurts. But with the Panthers, like you said, they're too explosive. Terrence Marshall, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. You got to worry about all of them. Chuba Hubbard, who's not a bad back at all by any means. I still think he can run the ball very well. He did it against the Cowboys last week. But yeah, I have the Panthers in a close game. Close game.
And again, let's not forget the Panthers have a really good pass rush. The Eagles last week had only one starter on the offensive line. Lane Johnson is coming back due to his personal reasons. He's coming back, but you still only have 2 starters on that offensive line.
Yeah, that right tackle last week had a long day.
Yeah, so that does it for the games we want to cover, right?
Yeah. Well, the games that we want to dive into mostly.
Okay.
Moving on to the rapid fire segment. This is the most games we've had on this segment since we started it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go ahead and get into it, all right?
Okay.
The Titans versus Jaguars.
I'm gonna go with the Titans. I think the Jaguars came off of Urban Meyer, the whole situation like that, and it was a bad loss. It was a bad loss for the Titans, but I think they're gonna bounce back with their receivers back. So.
Yeah, I'm taking the Titans. You know, Urban Meyer is a simp. The whole organization just down bad right now. But the Titans are missing some key players, but they still have Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And against that defense, I'm taking the Titans. Washington football team versus New Orleans Saints.
The Saints, to me, are the most inconsistent team in the NFL. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I don't know what to think of them. Washington football team came off of a really impressive win, coming down, having a late drive, and
Falcons gonna Falcon.
Yeah, again, the only concern is that defense to see what they can do. But I'm gonna go with the Washington football team.
Yeah, I agree. I have to go with Washington football team because of the Saints' inconsistency.
Yeah.
Packers versus. Oh, I'm sorry, I heard that wrong. Raiders versus Bears.
I think this is another interesting game that we're not covering. Justin Fields did look really good last week. Again, it was against the Lions. But I think that Derek Carr, he's going to have a fire under him. And I think that this team is still really good. And I think that they could win a close game against the Bears.
Oh, you think it's going to be close?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that close, but I think it's going to be
Considering it's in Las Vegas, I think the Raiders win by double digits.
Okay.
The Finns versus the Buccaneers.
I'm taking the Buccaneers. Dolphins don't have a quarterback. They haven't looked good in a while.
You know, some people are saying Jacoby Brissett looks a little better
than Tua. Yeah.
But Tua's young, so that's why I take him. But I do have the Bucs winning this game.
Yeah.
Texans versus the Patriots.
I think the Patriots are the better, well-rounded team. You look at the way they handled themselves and the way they defended the Buccaneers' offense. Mac Jones wasn't impressive to me when it came to airing the ball out, but he was impressive in how he handled himself in the situation. I'm going with the Patriots.
Yeah, he's a very good situational rookie, and that's why I have the Patriots in this game. Broncos and Steelers.
I'm going with the Broncos. I think the Broncos are that team that beats up on the weaker teams. Again, looking at it though, Teddy Bridgewater does have a concussion. You don't know what's going to happen with Drew Lock under center. He did look kind of shaky in that game in the second half. But I'm still going to go with the Broncos. They have the better defense and the running game.
Yeah, I'll take the Broncos because I don't think Big Ben, he's looked horrible. I mean, I said before the season that he's washed, and he's showing it this year. Spots in jeopardy. But yeah, I have the Broncos winning this game. Mm-hmm. The Falcons and Jets. First game back in London. How does that feel to say? 6:30 a.m. You're going to be able to wake up and there's football.
This game's kind of interesting. I might wake up at halftime. I don't know. But
it's going to be you're going to wake up Zach Williams to be in the middle of throwing his third pick of the game.
I'm going to go with the Falcons. I think that the Falcons offense is still really good. I think that Zach Wilson did look good last week, but you just never know with him. I only saw one, but...
You know the Falcons aren't playing with Calvin Ridley this week?
Yeah, but they have one man with dreads.
Oh, Pitts doesn't have dreads.
Cordell Patterson.
I'm just kidding, I know.
So I'm still going to go with the Falcons. I think they're the veteran team. And Zach Wilson, we got to see what he's made of. So.
Can someone tell me where that was his first 7 years in the league, Cordell Patterson? Now he wants to be a wide receiver all of a sudden?
Or running back?
Or running back? Or whatever the hell an actual... Okay. Yeah, that's pretty toxic. Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons in that game early in London. Glad to have football back there. Lions and Vikings.
I'm going to go with the Vikings, dumping the Lions. I don't know why I did that. Going with the Vikings.
Yeah, they're winning actually. You call.
Shut up. Dalvin Cook, he's going to run all over this defense. I think you guys still have 2 really good receivers. Again, the Vikings are still a really good football team. Lions just haven't put it together yet.
So you think the Lions just have no fight from what you said last week? They have no fight no more?
Oh, no, they can fight how they want to. They're just not going to win. So
I'm taking the Vikings in a blowout.
Okay. Is there another game?
No, that concludes the episode.
Okay, but before we end the episode, I just want to ask, where'd you get your shirt from?
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, on topic.
Thank you guys for watching another episode of 3 Guys on Mic. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the videos. Make sure you guys share us on Instagram. Thank you guys. Any questions you have for us, you want to interact with us on Instagram, we're always answering DMs and stuff like that. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
had a dream about you, Pat. I never told you. You want to hear it?